Happy Wednesday, beautiful people. It is December the 15th, 2021, day 328 of year 3 of reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets. Another 3-year consecutive day count is day 996. Today, we're going to start the first book of Maccabees, chapter 1. That chapter's pretty long. I don't know that I'm going to go to 2 and 3. Hold on. That'll be the whole reading for the day. I think I'll just do one. Maccabees 1. I mean, first chapter. First book of Maccabees. Let me see. I gotta double check it. I'm used to just listening to it. We're gonna do it. Okay, we're gonna read it. Okay, so the first one is the first chapter in the first book of Maccabees is 64 verses. The second chapter is 70 verses, and the third chapter is 60 verses. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. All right, so let's get started so we can get right to it. Okay. All right, y'all. And after we read Maccabees chapter 1, 2, and 3, we are going to finish up the book today. Jesus never existed. And we're going to pick back up on page, in the middle of the interview questions, on page 90. We're going to take it all the way to the end. We definitely going to finish it because I want to start the new book tomorrow. We're going to finish this today. All right, y'all. A call for wholehearted commitment found in Deuteronomy chapter 6. Remember, this is where the Shema is found. We just started reading the whole full chapter because we need to hear it in its full context. And some people probably didn't go read it. They probably just didn't have the time. Since you didn't have the time, I'm making time. So be here and listen to it. I mean, you don't have to. You do what you want to do. Anyway, a call for wholehearted commitment. These are the commands, decrees, and regulations that Yahuwah your God commanded me to teach you. You must obey them in the land you are about to enter and occupy, and you and your children and grandchildren must fear Yahuwah your God as long as you live. If you obey all his decrees and commands, you will enjoy a long life. Listen closely, Israel, and be careful to obey. Then all will go well with you, and you will have many children in the land flowing with milk and honey, just as Yahuwah, the God of your ancestors, promised you. Listen, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, he is God alone. And you must love Yahuwah, your God, with all your heart and all your soul and all your strength. And you must commit yourselves wholeheartedly to these commands that I am giving you today. Repeat them again and again to your children. Talk about them when you're at home and when you're on the road, when you're going to bed and when you're getting up. Tie them to your hands and wear them on your forehead as reminders. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah your God will soon bring you into the land he swore to give to you when he made a vow to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It is a land with large, prosperous cities that you did not build. The houses will be richly stocked with goods you did not produce. You will draw water from cisterns you did not dig, and you will eat from vineyards and olive trees you did not plant. When you have eaten your fill in this land, be careful not to forget Yahuwah, who rescued you from slavery in the land of Egypt. You must fear Yahuwah your God and serve him. When you take an oath, you must use his name only. You must not worship any of the gods of the neighboring nations, for Yahuwah your God who lives among you is a jealous God. His anger will flare up against you, and he will wipe you from the face of the earth. You must not test Yahuwah your God as you did when you complained at Massa. You must diligently obey the commands of Yahuwah your God, all the laws and decrees he has given you. Do what is right and good in Yahuwah's sight, so all will go well with you. Then you will enter and occupy the good land that Yahuwah swore to give to your ancestors. You will drive out all the enemies living in the land, just as Yahuwah said you would. In the future, your children will ask you, What is the meaning of these laws, decrees, and regulations that Yahuwah our God has commanded us to obey? Then you must tell them, we were Pharaoh's slaves in Egypt, but Yahuwah brought us out of Egypt with his strong hand. Yahuwah did miraculous signs and wonders before our eyes, dealing terrifying blows against Egypt and Pharaoh and all his people. He brought us out of Egypt so he could give us this land he had sworn to give to our ancestors. And Yahuwah our God commanded us to obey all these decrees and to fear him so he can continue to bless us and preserve our lives as he has done to this day. For we will be counted as righteous when we obey all the commands Yahuwah our God has given to us. Jen, good morning. Shalom. I saw your comment early this morning. I responded to it. I don't know if you saw it or not on the video from yesterday. It's getting good. It's getting good. All right, y'all. Let's do this. First book of Maccabees. You know what? I didn't give y'all a link. Y'all can Google the book of Maccabees. If y'all don't have like a Sefer or a book, the volume of Maccabees by itself, I'll give y'all a link today. I remind myself to put a link. I was supposed to, that's right. I forgot, y'all. I forgot to put that list. I didn't, but then I did. Then I remembered again. Then I forgot again. I was so busy yesterday. And then when I laid down to go to sleep, that was it. Hold on. Let me make myself. List of books. Hold on. Link for Maccabees. That way, if you want to read it online, you can just Google it really right now and find it. It will give you a few different versions. So find the version you like that's easy to read and follow along. If you want to, or you can just be here and just listen to me talk, read it. Okay. First book of Maccabees. It has a Hebrew name in here, but Maccabeum Rishon. That's Maccabees. First book. It's 4 different books of Maccabees. This is the first book. We're gonna go through all 4. They're not really that long. It'll take us a few weeks to get through all of them. We're just gonna read them in succession. All right. First chapter. Remember, I read this to y'all before when we were going through the book of Daniel. I think the last 2 years I came back to the first chapter of Maccabees. So you're familiar with it. The prophecies that Daniel was given back then, you can find them fulfilled here during this time. A lot of things people think, oh, that's still coming and all this. No, you just go to Maccabees, right? And find out pretty much not everything, but just about everything that Daniel talked about, you can find it fulfilled in here. Especially this first chapter with the abomination that causes desolation, right? Or the thing that will happen that will cause Israel to hit to the hills, right? We're about to read that again. All right, first chapter. First book of Maccabees, first chapter. And it happened that after Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim. Remember, Kittim is another name for Rome. Rome has a few different names throughout the scriptures. Kittim, Chittim, a couple other ones in Rome, right? Okay, so when you hear Kittim, remember that's Rome. Current day Rome, right? Okay. And Rome back then. It's just Rome altogether. All right. And it happened that after Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, or here it has Macedonians, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medi, and he reigned in his stead, the first over Yavan, and made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth. He went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, so much so that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore, when he called his servants, such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet still alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bore rule, everyone in his palace. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied upon the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, named Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome and reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Yavanim. In those days went there out of Yasharal, or Israel, wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and cut a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So you got Israelites defecting to Rome, right? Brothers and sisters, like, you know what? Let's go make a pact with the enemy, right? Daniel talks about that. In those days went there out of Yasharal, or Israel, or Yisolili, or Yisaela. It's talking about Israel, right? If you go over to India, the parts of Israel, you will hear them refer to Israel as Yisolili, right? Okay. That's an interesting fact. Maybe you didn't know. I shared it before, but just in case you didn't know. In those days went there out of Yasharal wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and cut a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were forward herein, that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen, meaning they put away the commands of Yah to keep like the commands and statutes and things of Rome and Kittim, which was completely against the laws of Yah. Yahuwah is one. Yes, thank you. Amen. May Yahuwah bless you all too. Then certain of the people were straightforward herein, that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. And when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Mitzrayim, or Mitzrayim is another name for Egypt during that time. He thought to reign over Mitzrayim, that he might have the dominion of two realms. Wherefore he entered into Mitzrayim with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen, and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, the king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Mitzrayim, and he took the spoils thereof. And after that Antiochus had smitten Mitzrayim, he returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar, and the menorah of light, and all the vessels thereof, and the table of the showbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, and the veil, and the crown, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He also took the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found, and when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly. Therefore there was great mourning in Israel, in every place where they were, so that the princes and the elders mourned, the virgins and the young men were made feeble, and the beauty of the women was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. The land was also moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. And after 2 years fully expired the king. Okay. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Yahud, or it's a region in the land of Judea, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude and spoke peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. Remember how Daniel talks about he's going to win them over, which people label the Antichrist, is going to win them over by peace or with flattery. They're talking about Antiochus, right? They ain't talking about Satan, right? I know that's what they teach you. That might trigger you a little bit, but I'm telling you, reading is fundamental to your learning and your life. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief tax collector of tribute unto the cities of Yahud, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spoke peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore and destroyed much people of Yasharal or Israel. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and children they took captive and possessed the cattle. Then built they the city of David with a great strong wall and with mighty towers and made it a stronghold for them. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. So they took over the camp of David, the city of David. Shayla, hey girl, hey, great rising. They took over the city of David. They replaced the righteous people with wicked people. Some of King David people, they was tripping too, right? Right? Okay, so they replaced that nation with a sinful nation, they said, right? This is their MO. They do it all the time, everywhere. They remove out their original inhabitants and they put in people. Well, King David and them did that too before they took over the city, which was now called the city of David, right? They took it over from the Jebusites, did the same thing. It is just what you do. When you win, you take over. You put there who you want to have there, right? Okay. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and the children they took captive and possessed the cattle. Then built they the city of David with a great and strong wall and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. They stored it also with armor and victuals. And when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem or Jerusalem, they laid them up there. And so they became a sore snare, for it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary and an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it, so much so that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them. Whereupon the city was made a habitation of strangers and became strange to those who were born in her, and her own children left her. Talking about Jerusalem, the righteous holy city, that said her people no longer recognize her. Remember many months ago when I was telling you, when people take over, they don't necessarily send you to another land. They do, and sometimes they don't. But they also take your land and they change it and they set up shop. Just like remember when well, they were taking down monuments during the whole 2020 riots and all those things, Black Lives Matter. Remember how they started removing the Confederate flags? Because when America came in and they took this land over from the original inhabitants who were here, they began to change the land so that its inhabitants, her children, no longer recognized who she was. You would thought you were a stranger in another land or a strange land. Her home had become desolate, right? Right. We'll read that again. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it, so much so that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made a habitation of strangers and became strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her. Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbath or her Sabbaths into a reproach, and her honor into contempt. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of Yasharal consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. For the king had sent seraphim or sephers or scrolls by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Yahud, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and feast days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and Asherah poles, and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. And we clearly still see that all over the land, not just America, but everywhere. They have set up temples to Asherah, the different gods and obelisk pillars, all those things. They've set them up, and they said, now you go in and you worship the God that we've created for you to worship, right? Leave the only one true and living God, and you worship the God we create, right? For the king had sent seraphim by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Yahud, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and feast days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and Asherah poles and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end that they might forget the Torah and change the ordinances, to the end that they might forget the Torah and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said that he should die. So he pretty much said, we're going to change everything. Everybody going to do as we say. You're going to worship the gods we say worship. And if you don't, you're going to die. Right? And so a lot of Jerusalem, those who stayed in the land, chose to live. Right? But live under the current kings or this new tyrant king's tyranny. Right? And they gave up the Torah. And they began to do these things that not only profaned their land, but profaned themselves. And they became abominable to their creator, right? I read it again. Let me just go back up. Verse 44. Mom, shalom. For the king had sent Sepharim by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Yahud, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbade burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, that they should profane the Sabbath and feast days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and Asherah poles and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanliness and profanation, to the end that they might forget the Torah and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Yahud to sacrifice city by city. The many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, everyone that forsook the Torah, and they so committed evils in the land, and drove Yasharal into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for help. So the children of Israel, who didn't submit to the king and his tyranny and forsaking the Torah, those were the ones who fled. But there was a good amount of Israel that chose to stay, right? They chose to stay. They was like, well, we rather live under a tyrant king. And so you fearing this tyrant king more than you fear your maker? I'm leaving. Everybody that's coming with me, you better go. Let's go. We leaving right now. If we get caught, we get caught, but we're gonna get caught fleeing. Me. All right. And hold on, I'm gonna go back. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, everyone that forsook the Torah, and so they committed evils in the land, and drove Yasharal into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for help. Now the 15th day of the month Kislev in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar. This is where they set it up at for everybody that think it's coming, that think Satan coming to bring it. This is where it actually happened, people. Now the 15th day of the month Kislev in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar and built idol altars throughout the cities of Yahud on every side and burned incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the sepharim of the Torah, which they found, they burnt them with fire. Oh, yeah, your Torah is burnt, right? And there wasn't too many people that was hooking in to the frequency of Yah to rewrite this, except for some of the things that the prophets wrote in Ezra, right? So how we know it was really back there for real, for real? They kept burning it after generations and a few generations after Ezra. They even tell you now they really don't have anything left from their original scrolls. And what they have, they found little pieces of parchment and they built stories around what they found. Go figure, right? So you got to learn how to tap into the source yourself, which is why we taking it up a level. We're going to show you how to better decipher truth and error with the holy scriptures, right? What they said is the pure, unadulterated word of God. I beg to differ. A bunch of garbage has been added into that book, right? But some truth and principles can be found. It really can. I'm telling you. You ain't got to believe me. That's why we're going to practice it. I'm going to show you how to do it. And you tap in and you tell me the wisdom that you began to receive from the Most High, the Most Holy, from Yahuwah, the Great Spirit, the Creator of heaven and earth, right? Okay, I'm going to finish reading. I'm going to go back. Verse 54. Now the 15th day of the month Kislev in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar and built idol altars throughout the cities of Yahud on every side and burnt incense at the door of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the sepharim of the Torah which they found, they burnt them with fire. And whosoever was found with any sephir of the covenant, or if any committed to the Torah, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death. Thus did they, by their authority, unto Yasharal every month to as many as were found in the cities. Now the 25th day of the month, they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of Elohim. At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. Like they were killing the women that was keeping the Torah, teaching their children. We're going to keep these commands regardless of what they say. We can't get out of here. We'll be here serving y'all till they come kill us and take us away, right? At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. And they hanged the infants about their necks and rifled their houses and slew them that had circumcised them. Howbeit many in Yasharal were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. Wherefore the rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they died. So then we died. Right? If he don't come save us, and we know that he is more than able and capable too, but if he doesn't, let it be known unto you, O Nebuchadnezzar, that we will not bow to your image. Take us away. And there was very great wrath upon Yasharal. Chapter 2. In those days arose Mattithayahu, the son of Yochanan, the son of Shimon, a priest of the sons of Yari from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modim. And he had 5 sons: Yochanan called Cadiz, Shimon called Thasi, Yehuda, who was called Maccabee, Eleazar called Avaran, and Jonathan, who was surnamed Aphas. And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Yahud and Jerusalem, he said, Woe is me, Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people and of the holy city, and to dwell there, when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers? Her temple is become as a man without glory. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets, her young men with the sword of the enemy. What nation has not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils? All her ornaments are taken away. Of a free woman she has become a bondservant. And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory, is laid waste, and the other nations have profaned it. To what end, therefore, shall we live any longer? Then Matthew is Matthew. That's the name. I'm gonna just say Matthew, y'all. Then Matthew and his sons rent their clothes and put on sackcloth and mourned very sore. In the meanwhile, the king's officers, such as compelled the people to revolt, came into the city Modin to make them sacrifice. And when many of Yasharal came unto them, Matthew also and his sons came together. Then answered the king's officers and said to Matthew on this wise: You are a ruler and an honorable and great man in this city, and strengthened with sons and brethren. Now therefore come you first and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathen have done. Yea, and the men of Yehuda also, and such as remain at Jerusalem, so shall you and your house be in the number of the king's friends, and you and your children shall be honored with silver and gold and many rewards. Then Matthew answered and spoke with a loud voice: Though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him and fall away, every one from the belief of their fathers, and give consent to his commandments, yet will not I and my sons and my brethren walk in the Yet I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. Far be it that we should forsake the Torah and the ordinances. We will not hearken to the king's words to go from our belief either on the right hand or the left. Now, when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Yahudim in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar which was at Modim, according to the king's commandment. Which thing, when Matthew saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his mind trembled. Neither could he forbear to show his anger according to the judgment. Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar. Whew. Not in my face, not on my watch. They're going to get me while I'm getting you, but you would not dare profane the Torah and Yahuwah's commands while I live in this city, right? Also, the king's commissioner who compelled men to sacrifice, he killed at that time, and the altar he pulled down. Thus dealt he zealously for the Torah of Elohim, like as Peniac did unto Zimri, the son of Shalom. And Matthew cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, Whosoever is zealous of the Torah and maintains the covenant, let him follow me. So he and his sons fled into the mountains, and all left that ever they had in the city. Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there, both they and their children, and their women, and their cattle, because afflictions increased sore upon them. Now, when it was told the king's servants and the host that was at Jerusalem in the city of David that certain men who had broken the king's commandment were going down into the secret places in the wilderness, they pursued after them a great number, and having overtaken them, they camped against them and made war against them on the Sabbath. And they said unto them, Let that which ye have done hitherto suffice. Come forth and do according to the commandment of the king, and ye shall live. But they said, We will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment to profane the Sabbath. So they then gave them battle with all speed. We're going to get to you right here, right now. I love it. So then they gave them the battle with all speed. Howbeit they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they lay hid, but said, Let us die all in our innocency. Heaven and earth will testify for us that ye put us to death wrongfully. So they rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them with their women and children and their cattle to the number of 1,000 people. Now when Mattatyahu and his friends understood thereof, they mourned for them right sore. And one of them said to another, if we all do as our brethren have done, fight not for our lives in Torah against the heathen, they would now quickly root us out of the earth. At that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath, we will fight against him. Neither will we die all as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places. Then came there unto him a company of Hasdaeans, who were mighty men of Yasharal, even all such as were voluntarily devoted to the Torah. Let me go back up. When they came to them on the Sabbath, when I was just saying when they gave them the battle with all speed, it wasn't Israel that gave them the battle with all speed. It was the enemy that gave them battle with all speed, and they purposely came. It just clicked while I was reading it. They fought with them on the Sabbath because they knew that they wouldn't profane the Sabbath, which is why they overtook all of them, because fighting on the Sabbath is considered work. Now, had I been there that day, we probably would have been profaning the Sabbath left and right, because I ain't going down without a fight. I'm just saying, which is probably why I was born in the generation I was born, because had I been born back in the days of picking cotton, as soon as they would have said something wrong to me and I got the strength and I thought it through, I probably wouldn't have lived too long, right? They would have got me. They would have had to think of some stuff to get me, because I would have been quiet. I wouldn't let my anger get the best of me too fast. I would have thought it through real good. I would have got a team together. We can do this. We can take them, y'all. We're gonna take over this plantation from Massa. We're gonna run this. We're gonna run this. This is our land anyway, right? Okay. But anyway, I digress. It was the enemy that came with them with all speed, and they didn't fight back because it was the Sabbath, which is why when we get down here, they said, listen, if this happens again on the Sabbath, we're going to fight, right? I'm going to read 39, then we'll keep going. Now, when Matthew and his friends understood thereof, they mourned for them right sore. And one of them said to another, if we all do as our brethren have done, and fight not for our lives in Torah against the heathen, they will now quickly root us out of the earth. At that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come and make battle with us on the Sabbath, we will fight against them. Neither will we die all as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places. Then they came there unto him a company of Hasdaeans, who were mighty men of Yasharal, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the Torah. All they that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them, and were a stay unto them. So they joined their forces and smote sinful men in their anger, and wicked men in their wrath. But the rest fled to the heathen for help. Then Matthew and his friends went round about and pulled down the altars. And what children soever they found within the coast of Yasharal uncircumcised, those they circumcised valiantly. They pursued also after the proud men, and the work prospered in their hand. So they recovered the Torah out of the hand of the other nations and out of the hand of kings, neither suffered they the sinner to triumph. Now, when the time drew near that Matthew should die, he said unto his sons, now has pride and rebuke gotten strength, and the time of destruction and the wrath of indignation. Now, therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the Torah, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time, so ye shall receive great honor and an everlasting name. Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness? Joseph, in the time of his distress, kept the commandment and was made Lord of Mitzrayim, or Lord of Egypt. Peniel, our father, in being zealous and fervent, obtained the covenant of an everlasting priesthood. Yahusha, for fulfilling the word, was made a judge of Yasharal. Not Yahusha, Jesus Christ from the New Testament, talking about Joshua. right? Joshua. He's talking about Joshua. Remember, Yahusha is also another name for Joshua. Marie, shalom, shalom. Adaya, shalom. Shalom. Y'all, we reading from the first book of Maccabees. Linda, shalom. Dana, I see you there. Okay. All right. Let me go back here. Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness? For Joseph, in the time of his distress, kept the commandment and was made Lord of Egypt. Peniac, our father, in being zealous and fervent, obtained the covenant of an everlasting priesthood. Yahusha, or Joshua, for fulfilling the word, was made a judge in Yasharal. Caleb, for bearing witness before the assembly, received the heritage of the land. David, for being merciful, possessed the throne of an everlasting kingdom. Eliyahu, or Elijah, for being zealous and fervent for the Torah, was taken up to heaven. Kenayahu, Azariah, Mishael, by believing, were saved out of the flame. Shadrach, Meshach, and a bad Negro. That's what we're talking about. Abednego. I I can't let the chance pass me by every time I say his name to say that. Okay. Daniel, for his innocency, was delivered from the mouth of the lions. And thus consider ye throughout all ages that none that put their trust in him shall be overcome. Fear not then the words of a sinful man, for his glory shall be dung and worms. Today he shall be lifted up, and tomorrow he shall not be found, because he is returned into his dust, and his thought is come to nothing. Wherefore, ye, my sons, be valiant and show yourselves men in behalf of the Torah, for by it shall ye obtain glory. For by it, by the Torah, by it ye shall obtain glory. And behold, I know that your brother Shimeon is a man of counsel. Give ear unto him always. He shall be a father unto you. As for Yehuda Maccabee, he has been strong. He has been mighty and strong, even from his youth up. Let him be your captain and fight the battle of the people. Take also unto you all those that observe the Torah, and avenge ye the wrong of your people. Recompense fully the heathen and take heed to the commandments of the Torah. So he blessed them and was gathered to his fathers. And he died in the 146th year, and his sons buried him in the sepulchre of his fathers at Modin, and all Yasharal made great lamentation for him. All right, y'all. Last chapter for the day. Ooh, we have 42. See, I knew it was gonna take a while. We're gonna finish this little book today. We're gonna finish this so we can start our other book tomorrow. All right, read the third chapter. This is so good. When I started reading this and listening, so I'm like, I wonder why I never read this before, because Maccabees get you hyped. Please don't get me hyped. Which is why they kept burning Torah, because it was getting Israel hyped. It gave them the strength, like we can do this. We can do this. We can fight against the wrong. We can fight against these nations. We can do this. Remember what y'all did for us, and getting around talking about all the goodness that y'all had done for them and how he always stood up when they got in line. We can do this. Oh yeah, burn the Torah. Every time you get a piece of it, burn it. They don't need to know nothing, right? Look. Chapter 3. Then his son Yehuda, called Maccabee, rose up in his stead, and all his brethren helped him. And so did all they that held with his father, and they fought with cheerfulness the battle of Yasharal. So he got his people great honor, and put on the breastplate as a giant, and girt his warlike harness about him, and he made battles, protecting the host with his sword. In his acts he was like a lion, and like a lion's whelp roaring for his prey. For he pursued the wicked and sought them out, and burnt up those that vexed his people. Wherefore the wicked shrunk for fear of him, and all the workers of iniquity were troubled, because Yeshua prospered in his hand. Or they put Yeshua here. Yeah, I like a little rowdiness, Marie. Yo, don't get a group of us together. Whoo, boy, it's gonna be. Let me keep reading. Look, okay. It says, "Wherefore the wicked shrunk for fear of him, and all the workers were troubled because Yeshua prospered in his hand. And it has a little footnote where it says Yeshua means salvation. When Maccabee ruled, salvation prospered in his hand. Like the people were saved through his hand because he was a righteous king ruler, one who led the people. There was constantly salvation found when Maccabee was on the scene, right? I read it again. Hold on. Look. For he pursued the wicked and sought them out and burnt up those that vexed his people. Wherefore the wicked shrunk for fear of him and all the workers of iniquity, because Yeshua or salvation prospered in his hand. Hey, babe. He grieved also many kings and made Yaakov or Jacob glad with his acts, and his memorial is blessed forever. Moreover, he went through the cities of Yahoo. Remember, Yahoo is a regional land of Judea. Moreover, he went through the cities of Yahoo, destroying the wicked out of them and turning away wrath from Yasharal, so that he was renowned unto the utmost part of the earth, and he received unto him such as were ready to perish. Then Apollonius gathered the other nations together and a great host out of Shamaron to fight against Yasharal, which thing when Yehuda perceived, he went forth to meet him, and so he smote him and slew him. Many also fell down slain, but the rest fled. Wherefore Yehuda took their spoils, and Apollonius and Apollonius's sword also, and therewith he fought all his life long. Now when Suron, a prince of the army of Aram, heard that Yehuda had gathered unto him a multitude and company of the faithful to go out with him to war, he said, I will get me a name and honor in the kingdom, for I will go fight with Yehuda and them that are with him, who despise the king's commandment. So he made him ready to go up. And there went with him a mighty host of the wicked to help him and to be avenged of the children of Yasharal. And when he came near to the going up of Bet Choron, Yehuda went forth to meet him with a small company, who, when they saw the host coming to meet them, said to Yehuda, how shall we be able, being so few, to fight against so great a multitude so strong, seeing we are ready to faint with fasting all this day? Unto whom Yehuda answered, it is no hard matter, for many we be shut up in the hands of few. Hold on. Unto whom Yehuda answered, yes, babe.
You almost daddy.
Not yet. When he come back, I am.
I can go.
Yeah, you can go today. Where we going? Yeah, you can go with us today. Okay. Yay. Go watch Face and Brush Teeth too, baby.
Okay.
Unto Yehuda answered, it is no hard matter for many to be shut up in the hands of a few, and with the Elohim of heaven. Hold on. Did I go up far enough? Let me go back up to 17. Who, when they saw the host coming to meet him, said unto Yehuda, how shall we be able, being so few, to fight against so great a multitude and so strong, seeing we are ready to faint with fasting all this day? Unto whom Yehuda answered, it is no hard matter for many to be shut up in the hands of a few. With the Elohim of heaven, it is all one to deliver a great multitude or a small company.
I need for a small thing, y'all.
Okay, well, give me a moment, Pooh. I'll do that when I'm done.
It's actually spiky.
Okay, you'll be all right. For the victory of battle stands not in the multitude of a host, but strength comes from heaven. They come against us in much pride and iniquity to destroy us and our women and our children and to spoil us, but we fight for our lives and our Torah. Don't get me hyped. We fight for our lives and our Torah. We're going to do it. Yeah, Adaya, we're going to do it just not here. Look, hold on. I got to highlight this. We fight for our lives and our Torah. Wherefore Yahuwah himself will overthrow them before our face. And as for you, be not afraid of them. Now, as soon as he had left off speaking, he leapt suddenly upon them, and so Saran and his host was overthrown before him, and they pursued them from going down of Bet Choron unto the plain, where were slain about 800 men of them, and the remnant fled into the land of the Philistines. Then began the fear of Yehuda and his brethren, and an exceeding great dread to fall upon the nations round about them, so much so as his fame came unto the king, and all the nations talked about the battles of Yehuda. Now, when the king Antiochus heard these things, he was full of indignation. Remember, this is the one who set up the abomination that causes desolation, that caused Israel to flee, right? Him, this Antiochus. Now, when King Antiochus heard these things, he was full of indignation, and he sent and gathered together all the forces of his realm, even a very strong army. He opened also his treasure and gave his soldiers pay for a year, commanding them to be ready whensoever he should need them. Nevertheless, when he saw that the money of his treasures failed, and that the tributes in the country were small, because of the dissension and plague which he had brought upon the land, and taken away the Torah, which had been of old time, he feared that he should not be able to bear the charges any longer, nor to have such gifts to give so liberally as he did before. For he had abounded above the kings that were before him. Wherefore, being greatly perplexed in his mind, he determined to go into Persia, there to take the tributes of the countries and to gather much money. So he left Lysis, a nobleman and one of the blood royal, to oversee the affairs of the king from the river Perath unto the borders of Mitzrayim. Remember, Mitzrayim is Egypt, and to bring up his son Antiochus until he came again. Moreover, he delivered unto him the half of his forces and the elephants, and gave him charge of all things that he would have done, as also concerning them that dwelt in Yahud and Jerusalem, to wit, that he should send an army against them to destroy and root out the strength of Yasharal, Israel, and the remnant of Jerusalem, Jerusalem, and to take away their memorial from that place, and that he should place strangers in all their quarters, and divide their land by lot. So the king took half of the forces that remained, and departed from Antioch, his royal city, the 147th year, and having passed the river of Perath, he went through the high countries. Then Lysis chose Ptolemy, the son of Dorymenes, Nicanor, and Gorgias. All right. Remember what time we gotta go pick that up.
Yeah, but call me when you're done.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Then Lysis chose Ptolemy, the son of Dorymenes, Nicanor, and Gorgias, the mighty men of the king's friends, and with them he sent 40,000 footmen and 7,000 horsemen to go into the land of Yahud and to destroy it, as the king commanded. So they went forth with all their power, and came and pitched by Yemen in the plain country. And the merchants of the country, hearing the fame of them, took silver and gold very much with servants, and came unto the camp to buy the children of Yasharal for slaves. A power also of Aram and of the land of the Philistines joined themselves unto them. Now, when Yehuda and his brethren saw that miseries were multiplied, and that the forces did encamp themselves in their borders, for they knew how the king had given commandment to destroy the people and utterly abolish them, they said to one another, let us restore the decayed fortune of our people, and let us fight for our people in the sanctuary. Then was the assembly gathered together, that they might be ready for battle, and that they might pray and ask mercy and compassion. Now Jerusalem lay void as a wilderness. There was none of her children that went in or out. The sanctuary also was trodden down, and the aliens kept the stronghold. Remember, not aliens, but alien people, people of Rome, different people that came and took them over. They were considered aliens, not outer space. Okay. Now Jerusalem lay void as a wilderness. There was none of her children that went in or out. The sanctuary also was trodden down, and aliens kept the stronghold. And I brought that out because I know there are some teenagers watching. I talked to a few of them, and they're really confused about some things. So I want to make sure I'm clear on a lot of terms. So don't think I'm, being facetious or something. But I want to make sure that they really understand too what is being said. Okay. Now Jerusalem lay void as a wilderness. There was none of her children that went in or out. The sanctuary also was trodden down, and aliens kept the stronghold. The heathen had their habitation in that place, and joy was taken from Yaakov. Yaakov is Jacob, and the pipe with the harp ceased. Wherefore Yasharal assembled themselves together and came to Mizpah over against Jerusalem, for in Mizpah was a place where they prayed aforetime in Yasharal. Then they fasted that day and put on sackcloth and cast ashes upon their heads and rent their clothes and laid open the Sefer of the Torah, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their image.
Mommy,
Yes, babe.
why ate everyone eat all my cake?
Because it was left out. And every time they put their eyes on it, they took a piece.
Me and you just cooked it for dinner.
I know, but they just kind of got to it. Okay, look. And laid, hold on. Then they fasted that day and put on sackcloth and cast ashes upon their heads and rent. Baby, can I finish reading this? We'll talk about that cake in a minute, okay? I'm almost done.
Mom, next
She
week
don't
you
care.
can go shopping and buy some more.
Yes, we will. And then they fasted that day and put on sackcloth and cast ashes upon their heads and rent their clothes and laid open the Sefer of the Torah, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. Remember, they know that they doing it back then. They burned it. When they get it, they make it new. They changing the stories, right? They open it up and saw that the enemy had painted their likenesses in the Torah. Yes, babe.
Make you a salad or not?
Nah. I think I'm gonna make me a juice this morning.
A smoothie?
No, not a smoothie, just a juice. I'm gonna juice some stuff. And laid open the Sefer of the Torah, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. They bought also the priest's garments and the first fruits and the tithes and the Nizarim they stirred up, who had accomplished their days, the Nazarene. The Nazarenes they stirred up, who had accomplished their days, or meaning their vow that they had taken. The Nazarenes, they got the ones whose vow was over. Then cried they with a loud voice toward heaven, saying, what shall we do with these, and whither shall we carry them away? For your sanctuary is trodden down and profaned, and your priests are in heaviness and brought low. And lo, the heathen are assembled together against us to destroy us. What things they imagine against us, you know. What things they imagine against us, you know. How shall we be able to stand against them, except you, O Elohim, be our help? Then sounded they with shofars and cried with a loud voice. And after this, Yehuda ordained captains over the people, even captains over thousands, over hundreds, and over fifties, and over tens. But as such, but as such, but as for such as were building houses, or had betrothed women, or were planting vineyards, or were fearful, those he commanded that they should return, every man to his house according to the Torah. We don't need no scaredy cats with us. Y'all going back home. All those that's not afraid, y'all ready to go? Let's roll. So the camp removed and pitched upon the south of Yemen. And Yehuda said, arm yourselves and be valiant men, and see that ye be in readiness against the morning, that ye may fight with these nations that are assembled together against us to destroy us in our sanctuary. For it is better for us to die in battle than to behold the calamities of our people in our sanctuary. Nevertheless, as the will of Elohim is in heaven, so let him do. That literally took us to 59 minutes, y'all. I really wanted to finish the rest of this book today, Jesus never existed. But that is the 3 chapters of Maccabees. First Maccabees, chapter 1, 2, and 3. What I'm gonna have to do so we can finish this, I may have to cut Maccabees down to 2 chapters a day, just so we can get in the book reading. Yeah, most of the chapters are long. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Starting tomorrow. What's today? Today's Wednesday. Ugh. Hold on, y'all. I know some of y'all got to go to work. I really want to push it. I'm not. I thought I was gonna have at least 30 minutes left. I can't. We ain't gonna get to it today. We not. We definitely gonna get to it tomorrow. We're gonna do 2 chapters of Maccabees, and we're gonna finish this tomorrow, and then Thursday, then Friday we'll start the new book, A Walk of Power, A Walk of the Spirit, which would be good because we'll get to start the intro, and then we got a Sabbath, right? And if y'all are taking your 24 minutes, some of you may be doing more than 24 minutes if you already got your prayer life established and stuff. Then we'll go ahead and you will have a whole Sabbath to practice your prayer language, right? Or at least take some time throughout that day. You can get yourself going. You literally can pray all day if you get yourself revved up good enough to where your spirit began to take over. You just kind of keep it going, like throughout the day. If you're focusing, making sure you're praying, it will go all day long. It's amazing. Things are happening. I want to hear what y'all began to experience. I did want to add another couple quick notes, but when you praying in your heavenly language, you can use it, like I said, you can use it on purpose, and you can use it to help you get your prayers answered a whole lot faster. You can, I'm gonna give you an example too. You can use your prayer language, your personal prayer language, to get answers for other people or see things. Okay, so you know how, I'm gonna show you how this works. Anytime you go to a church, you seeing somebody operating the spiritual gifts like word of wisdom, word of knowledge, seeing into the spirit, visions, all that stuff. You know, sometimes maybe the pastor, evangelist, somebody, preacher that come in out of town, or you go to some type of event and you see the gifts operating. When you see that happening, that means they have spent some time praying in tongues, right? They're tapped in. Either they got it revved up before that service to get it going so they're able to operate in those gifts where they can give you a word of knowledge or a word from the Lord, right? They get themselves, they have to spend that time. If you still go to church, pay close attention. Really pay close attention. Some will move their mouths. You don't have to pray in tongues out loud. You can when you first starting off, when you first train yourself. It's a way to train yourself, to keep yourself going. Then once your spirit takes over, you hear it take over. Thank you. You can go quietly, because remember, it's about focusing yourself and quieting down everything else so you can tap in to the frequency that Yah is on and you can hear things, right? So you can also use it when you're tired, you're having a rough day, you just pull aside some time and you go pray. I can't tell you how long. I'll tell you though, like if you're experiencing maybe like a depression or some type of feeling or whatever, you can pray until you get that, which church would term it as a release in your spirit, or you feel that whatever that heaviness is, you'll feel it lift, right? Okay, that really works. So even when you're tired, like when you're at work, I remember years ago when I was working at the shipyards. Shucks, this was right after I had gotten out the military. The shipyard hours, I was working a day shift, but I was there early, and some days I would be up late because back then I was reading and studying and stuff. But I would be tired, and there was actually somebody who worked in my office who actually practiced praying in tongues, and he said, "Girl, I know you should be dozing." He was like, "Don't let them catch you dozing." He said, "Look, I know we don't talk about this here." He said, "But do you pray in tongues?" I said, I know how. At that time I really didn't. I still was kind of sporadically didn't have the understanding. He said, if you pray in tongues for a little while, he said, you will feel some energy come. He said, so if you need to take a bathroom break or while you're at lunch, he said, pray quietly. He said, or if you need to pray out loud or whatever, he said, do it. He said, don't do it to where people think you crazy. He said, even if you need to go sit in your car for a few minutes, go out there, go do that, and you will notice strength to come. And by golly, it worked. I'm like, okay. So I'm trying to share some things with y'all that happened with me over the years as I was experiencing this gift. So I wanted to tell you that you can do that. You can also, you don't have to just pray it like talking. You can sing it. I'm not sure if Jen is still here, but she experienced this the other day that she shared with me. She said something she never experienced before. She actually began to sing in tongues. I'm assuming she was praying and then the song came and she began to sing it. Yes, Jen. Hey, okay. So but she began to sing. She said it was new. She had never experienced it before. But also there is let's call it a secret because I haven't really well, I kind of understand it, but not fully, right? You can take your praying in tongues up a level by singing, right? Okay. So I learned this by looking into some other things, and I remember different instances when I would go to church and different people who I knew who would pray in tongues a lot. There was like a difference between the ones who sung in tongues and those who actually just spoke in tongues. I don't know, y'all. It's just kind of like it's levels to it, and I paid attention to it. But what happens is, when you sing in your tongue, your prayer language or your mantra, whatever you want to call it, right? When you sing in that, you get on the singing frequency, right? And the best way I know how to describe this, when you get on that singing frequency, you kind of get on that level where the angelic realm is present, right? And it seems like it brings the spirit of Yah, or you feel the presence of Yah a whole lot faster. I don't know. It's just a frequency, which is why yesterday when I talked to you, you don't even have. I was telling you, you don't have to use words. You can use sounds, like you can use primordial sounds, like India, different places who meditate, they use like their om, and it doesn't have to be those. It's a sound that resonates through your body that causes the frequencies to come in line with the unseen realm. Like, yo, it's like when you listen to music, the same thing happened. Like if you listen to music, okay, if you listen, I know for a fact, if you listen to gospel music or any type of worship music, you can tell the difference between the different songs that are sung when they've tapped into that frequency of Yah. It seems like some songs are, like church would say, are more anointed, and it'll take you right into the presence of the Lord when you listen to those songs versus other praise and worship songs, because they happened upon the principle that they operated in. So now that I understand, like I said, I can't really give you like the technical terms for it. I can just explain to you what happens, right? And if you practice it, you will know it to be true. So I'm kind of just like taking notes, and so I know to take it up a level when you pray in tongues, you can start singing. Now, if you can't hold a note in a bucket with a handle inside of a box, inside of a shopping cart, put on a song. I would say put on a song that carries the anointing, or the one that it brings the presence of Yah. And instead of singing the words of that song, swap it out with your prayer language. And it'll get you there. And it'll help you tap into the spiritual realm a whole lot faster, right? It's like it's laws that supersede other laws, just like in aerodynamics, right? How can a plane stay up in the air, all this weight, all these people, because they understand different laws, gravity, lift, thrust, all these things. There are laws in place, in order, and you have to follow those laws, or you're going to if you violate those laws, you'll find yourself in trouble. But you can operate on a law that supersedes that law, to where if you violate, like the law of gravity, right? People want to argue about law of gravity. Okay, so if you're standing on top of a building and you go to jump down, you're breaking the law of gravity, and you're going to meet a swift death, or you're going to break yourself up really good if you don't begin to operate on another law that causes you to fly and gain altitude and come back up, right, which is what planes do. They operate on different levels to supersede lower level laws in order to accomplish their purpose a whole lot faster, whereby you can traverse the world a whole lot faster than walking, riding a bus, driving your car. It's like singing in tongues. It moves you like a plane. You get there a whole lot faster. So I'm trying to give you all these things before we start, give you more than enough information. If you forget, just come back and watch the videos and just begin to practice it. Because I want y'all to see that this really does work, and it will help you in your study of Torah and wading through the garbage and the truths and the untruths and all the internet pastors and prophets and all these things and all the scare tactics, all the zoom doom and gloom prophecies people are putting out, and all of these things. It'll help you wade through all of this, right? So that's why I said we have to take it up a notch, right? Because I'm up here and I'm looking at some of these things, even with the Hebrew roots movement, the Israel waking up. It's just like, guys, y'all, come up a little bit higher. Come up a little bit higher so you can see what I can see, right? And some Israelites say it's evil to do so because, and those that say that have not experienced it. They have not experienced the presence of Yah, because those who've actually have experienced it and actually use that gift or spiritual law principle, they'll know that there's truth to it. And it's not, like I said yesterday, the last couple of videos, it's not just for Christians or spiritual people. Anybody can operate on these.
Look,
Yes.
how was it your birthday actually come up when you can get some ice cream, cupcakes, and a birthday cake?
Okay, I will tell them. Which is why I'm taking you through the process of the different books so you can see people operate in this spiritual gift or this universal principle that Yahuwah has set here for everybody. It's set there for when we need information. We don't really know what's going on, and we really need to tap into Yah. Okay, what is going on here, right? We're able to tap into that frequency, get in line with that frequency, and get answers to our problems and bring them back here in this 3D realm and operate, right? So, and I started telling you this to saying, I'm going to show you what the pastors in them do before they start laying hands on you and being able to see that this is how psychics and all those things can do this. They spend time connecting to that realm so they can pull out information and give it to people. And some people prostitute the gift, or they take it and they charge people for prophecies or seances or crystal ball readings, all these things, when they're using the same thing that I'm teaching you about. That's there, anybody can use it. That's why I want to bring the different perspectives, people who are not religious that are using this and showing you how to do it, that everybody can do, so you're not fooled by people and them getting you over emotional and you're not thinking straight, right? Is not it's not something that's evil, although people teach you about it, and if they're really lacking understanding, they're gonna miss a whole lot of points. And when, especially if you go looking for it and you start running to the teachings about the kundalini, I'm telling you, I ran into that, freaked the mess out of me, and I stopped using this gift, right? Because of that, I was like, oh, I want to make sure I ain't invoking demons and stuff, and but I'm like, I cannot negate or forget what's happened to me or what happens to me when I use that gift, right? It's like when it takes you to a higher level where the unseen teacher can begin teaching you and lead you and guide you, right? And it keeps people from getting one up on you, right? So I want to show you how to do it. Willie, shalom. If you go back a couple days ago, I gave the video a couple days ago where it was like 2 hours. Go back to that video. Go back to that video a couple days ago where it was 2 hours. I forget the title of it, but start at the hour point and listen to me. And now I explain to you how. I give you step by, I show you how. Matter of fact, Go back and listen to the last couple days videos. Jump to the point where I start talking about it at the end of the video, because each day I'm giving you more and more information to help you along, especially those who don't have or feel like they don't have a prayer language. I'm showing you how it works and you can use it to say you get the same benefits, right? Okay, so what pastors and them would do, they would actually spend some time, whether they're chanting or they're praying in tongues, to align themselves to the spiritual realm so they can be able to pull information out. We have a friend, my sister's at work, I didn't see her come in yet, but we have a friend, and she's like real cold, Holy Ghost filled Bible church thumpers, right? She praying in tongues all the time. Okay, so when she had started praying in tongues, she was praying for her pastor. The pastor had asked for prayer. I wasn't going to her church, but she told my sister about it. My sister was sharing it with me, and I'm like, oh, she don't realize what just happened. So what happened was, when you pray in tongues, like I say, if you have an issue or something you need to pray about, when you like, okay, Father, I'm going to pray about this, and when you prayed all the words in English that you know how to pray about that, you can kind of just focus on that need and begin to pray in tongues. It's like you're directing your the unseen language to that. You're focusing your energy on getting this problem right here solved, right? Okay, so our family friend, I was trying not to call, about to say her name, a family friend, she was praying for her pastor, right? And so she was in her prayer time and she began praying for him. So she began thinking about him. And as she was thinking about him and she was going in, she said she was going in praying in tongues. All of a sudden, she had a vision. And in the vision, she saw the pastor, saw him, and he had sat down in a chair, and he took his shoes, he took his church shoes, and he took a bottle of oil and he poured it into his shoes and he put them on his feet. And that's what she saw. She's like, that was weird, and she kept on praying or whatever. So the next day she actually called, no, she went to the church. She said she went to the church and she told the pastor, when she was praying for him, what she saw. And she said the pastor looked at her like he was shocked, because he said, what's wrong? He said, I actually did that last night. I took my bottle of oil and I poured it in my shoes. And I was praying and asking God to increase the anointing that I walk in. I'm like, bruh, you can't make this stuff up. So that's why I'm like, y'all, we got to practice this. You can get information for your family, for growth, to solve problems, and it's there for those reasons, right? Yahuwah wants us living a life of peace and constant communion, being connected to the source at all times. But we got to start somewhere, right? If nobody tells us we have these things available to us, so if we're building a house and we come with our toolbox, and in our toolbox all we got is a hammer, a screwdriver, flathead Phillips, and a couple different things, it's like it's gonna be a while before you get your house built, right? I'm coming with the tool bag with the electronic tools. Let's get this right. We can move a lot faster. Let's take the plane and connect to the source, to Yah. And that's what praying in tongues does. Like I said, it is the gift that open up all the other gifts, right? And when you train yourself, it's really, I like to call it the tool of disciplining your flesh, right? A lot of people is not going to sit and take the time to sit still, keep your body still, cut off everything around you, and just focus and pray. Most people won't do it. It's too much. They get frustrated, and when they don't see results overnight, is I'm going off to something else. So they jumping around. They don't spend enough time focusing on this so it can grow and net them results, which is why they're all over the place. It's like you a jack of all trades, but master of none, right? You can't be good at everything all the time, but you can. But you got to focus. First, you got to focus on one thing. And when you focus, what you'll begin to realize is, when you spend that time focusing, you go through that focusing learning curve. Discipline yourself. Get up, get out the bed, turn it loose, turn the pillow loose. Get up, make yourself get up 24 minutes earlier if you can. That'll be best. You don't have to, but I'm just saying, between the hours of 4 and 6 has been proven. Spiritual activity is at a heightened level and all of heaven is waiting to talk to you, right? They're shooting out information for the day. I'm telling you what I know, what I practice. Get up. And even some days I'm like, oh, please just tell me when I get up. No, get up now, Pamela. I'm like, it's too early. Go to bed earlier. I'm like, okay. Like, seriously. Me too, y'all. I'm telling you. So, but it is when you discipline yourself, when you submit yourself to discipline, you begin to grow. And at a certain point, you'll begin to gain altitude a whole lot faster. And you'll like they call it like the revelation knowledge or revelation knowledge. What's the other one? It's just a few of them, but all of those come out of that. It comes from disciplining yourself, right? But also, and I'm gonna show you that this can be used by anybody, even vagabonds in the church, right? Because when you discipline yourself, um, over a period of time, and you submit yourself to it wholeheartedly, you will see changes in your life. Like I said, I want to focus on this for the next year because there's no way you can do this for a whole year and not be a different person in a year's time. I'm telling you what I know, what I practice, right? You see pastors that come to town. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Maybe you've seen some of the movies where they're showing the shenanigans from the church, and not just that, but even other little places that put on um, seminars and stuff. But they end up sleeping with the people that's coming to them to get help, right? Some people can't even fathom that pastors would be doing this. They don't bring their wives when they go on these trips and seminars and stuff, and they sleeping with the men and the women. Don't matter, we'll do both, right? They get into all of this, but how can that happen when you was just in the pulpit and all this anointing dripping off of you? First of all, I can tell you that they are not disciplined. They found out how the gift works and they're using it. They're using it. They're getting themselves to a point where they can use it to where they're tapped in and they can hear stuff. But then after they do what they want or get what they want, they just gone. They don't really allow it to permeate their life to where it brings true and lasting change deep from their shanana on the inside of their inmost parts. They don't allow that to happen. They use it enough to get the information that they know that they can pull. That's how you can go to soothsayers and crystal ball readers, because before they come out there for that day, they tap into the spiritual realm and keep it flowing for the day. So anybody that comes to them, they can see right into your life. They get that revelation knowledge, words of wisdom for your life. When they've tapped in, and they can see, they can call out names sharp, they can call out phone numbers, right? That's what happens when you get there, because there's not time when you tap into the spiritual realm. There is not time, there is not space. Like, the information is right there, you can see it, you can pull it. And that's what they do. Pastors do it the same way, right? And some of them, believe it or not, there are faster ways to tap into the spiritual realm, i.e., drugs and stuff. And whenever I talk about it, I do not recommend that you do that ever, ever, ever. Not to tap into the spirit. Do not do that. You have some people who are spiritual that say it's healthy, it's a herb. Okay, I get that, but when you're doing this to help people grow, I would recommend that you teach them the manual way first, right? When I first learned to drive, I learned to drive on a stick shift, right? Before I learned how to use the automatic. I would say learn how to do it manually. Start with the screwdriver, Phillips, and the flathead first before we get you a drill, right? Because then you went through the proper protocols and you know the right way to do it. Then I would never say use drugs, but people do. My stance is don't do it at all, because you don't want to put yourself in a position where you become dependent on it, right? We see this happen a lot with people who get into the musical arts, right? They get hooked on drugs because what happens? It pops that realm open to you, and you hear people say, I do my best writing when I'm high, or whatever type of drug they hear from the spirit realm. They get songs, hits and stuff, and it's true. It happens. They've learned how to use it, but they've tried to They try to take the shortcut, right? And it doesn't end well for people who take the shortcut most of the time, right? If they don't stop it, they get too far, they become dependent on it. And now it's like you can't function unless you got that high. We can't write that song. We can't even go out here and perform unless we get this with the drugs, you know. A lot of people, our people, all races, I've seen it, right? Stay away from, don't take the shortcut, people. Yoke yourself to discipline. Discipline yourself, right? You it may take a little longer. It may seem like everybody is growing a whole lot faster than you in school. Like, oh, you still back there. It might seem like you the tortoise and the hairs are just flying past you. Because I felt like that at one time. I'm like, everybody needs supernatural gifts and say like they developing. And I'm just still, why is everybody moving so fast? And I asked for this and you ain't give it to me, but they doing it. My baby sister speaking in tongues. I'm like, oh, you know what? Yahuwah was taking me through a process so I could understand the details and what happens when you begin to yoke yourself to discipline and you take the, not necessarily the long way home or the long road home, but I began to enjoy the journey and I stopped focusing on how fast other people were moving. They're moving at their pace, walking on their path. I'm moving at the pace that was designed for me because I didn't know my path would be a teacher, right? And teachers need to be able to break things down. I'm like, oh, so I'm okay with it now, which is why everything I do, it seems like extreme. You take it to long, white, all of that. That's just the path I'm on. That's the place. That's the path he put me on for this life, right? Because of what I'm supposed to be doing. So, and I have to be able to explain it to you from different perspectives when, you know, so you can understand it because I get people from different backgrounds, different age groups asking me questions, believe it or not, about different things. So I have a lot of different experiences in different areas for certain things, you know. So if you don't understand it this way, well, look at it this way. This. Oh, yeah, you know. So I'm kind of, as we grow together, that's why I chose to get different perspectives. Like I said before, different perspectives of different books. So you can see that it doesn't just work in church, but it works with engineers, people who weren't even raised in religion. They were taught about this particular gift in a different way. And he'll show you how he used it. He made it a daily habit when he saw it work. He made it a daily habit. He is an engineer. No, I'm sorry. Not I call him an engineer. He's a nuclear physicist. In the book My Big Toe, he's a nuclear physicist. And he realized once he put that principle into place and he purposely began to start his day and he tuned himself to that frequency, we call it, you know, tuning the frequency to Yah, or he called it tuning the frequency to the greater creative force, his creator. He literally became almost like a superstar in his area of work in the nuclear physicist realm. People who couldn't solve problems start bringing their problems to him because all he did, he knew what to do. He took the problem and it would help him he realized he was a lot more efficient in everything he was doing. And so when they would come to him with the problems that we've been working on this, we're trying to figure out this formula is just not working. I'm like, okay, I'll work on it. He would look at it and he would just focus on it. He's like, okay, I need an answer for this. And he would just go do meditate or whatever. And within a couple of days, he would always have the answer to what he was looking for, whether he would have a vision or he would have a dream or it would just come to him and he would know it. As I'm telling you, it works the same way. I want to remove all the scary parts from it, all the things that would seem demonic or stay away from it. I want to help you call it demystify. Is it mystify? We want to remove all the scary parts so you can see it bare bones of what it is and we can look at it together. And I want you to begin practicing it. That's why I said I'm not going to give you a tongue or a mantra. I'm going to show you how to do it. That way you won't be able to say I didn't perform some type of witchery on you or something or put you under a curse or a spell. I'm going to show you how to do it. You choose. You choose how long, how short, when, put on the song, sing it. I'm giving you a whole bunch of different ways to show you it works, right? So you can have your own personal experience and now you can make a good conscious decision and you can look, okay, it's something to this, right? And we can just kind of keep going. But anyway, And that's enough for the day. Hey, Sam, shalom, shalom. Oh, you over here on Facebook today? I'm used to seeing you over here on YouTube. Okay. I ain't gonna call Bella. She all the way upstairs. We're at an hour and a half. Okay. Yeah, so just to go back the last couple days, Willie, towards the end. And I do a lot of explaining on the last couple of videos because, like I said, I want to prepare you, get you going. Yes. Okay. Hallelujah. Yahuwah is one. Okay. You're welcome, Adiah. Okay. All right. So that's it. So let's go ahead and do the blessing so we can get out of here. I got a few things to do today. Switching up on me. Okay, y'all. What is over here? Oh, hold on. I can't see it. Okay. Ooh, I think I cut them off. Facebook. Hold on. There y'all go. Okay. Oh, I thought I killed it. I just hit the button. All right. The blessing is found, y'all, in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Bella, forgive me today because I'm going to let her go with us. I'm going to go ahead and end this. The blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahuwah will kneel before us presenting gifts and will guard us with the hedge of protection. Yahuwah will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards us, bringing order, and he will provide us with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah will lift up his wholeness of being and look upon us, and he will set in place all we need to be whole and complete. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. Y'all know Linda, I just said, she upstairs. I ain't gonna call her. She gonna forgive me today. She gonna throw a fit, but she gonna forgive me. Because I'm gonna let her go with me and her day today while we go out and handle some business. And she'll be all right. I want to go ahead and end it, y'all. Love y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bright and early. You're welcome, Jen. You're welcome. You have a blessed day too. All right, y'all. See y'all back here tomorrow, bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.